there, fellow adult collectors. Welcome back. David Eon here with another unboxing. It's been a minute since I've been able to do a MEZCO unboxing, but we're doing one today, and this, of course, is the Bluto and Popeye 2-pack Stormy Seas Ahead Deluxe box set by MEZCO from their 1/12 collective line, and I've actually really been looking forward to this one. I was not able to order it initially. I got this from somebody else, and their Popeye, let's go ahead and actually get started with this. Their Popeye, I have the first Popeye, not the second one, not the white one that came in the tin, but the original Popeye. And with that one, they really knocked it out of the park. It's one of those figures, every once in a while, MEZCO, I mean, they do a good job anyway, but every once in a while, they release a figure that they just really nailed it. And Popeye was one of them. And so I'm looking forward to doing a review of this one. And I've already split the bottom of this because I wanted to check the contents when it came in. So you see this is already fallen out. This is the, it says pose, play, and display, but don't play with it, folks, because this is a disclaimer warning you to be careful with what you're doing here. But I've already cut that so I could check it when it first came in. One of the most recent ones I've done a review of that I think they really nailed it on was the Nosferatu Figure. I think they did a great job on Nosferatu. And I like this box art, by the way. Usually their boxes are pretty plain in appearance, but I like that they did some actual artwork on the box, even though it's pretty simple. It's pretty simple, but it's classic, and it works. I wish they would do something like this more often with their box art. Very often it's just very plain looking. Here we go with the Popeye and the Bluto, and there's actually several tiers here. This is a heavy package, and I can feel the different tiers in the box here. I'll go ahead and pull the first one off, and what I mean by that is, you know how these plastic parts fit inside of each other. Take this off. And of course, I will be taking these out and testing their articulation and looking at them. There's the Popeye, there's the Bluto, and then underneath here is some other accessories. There's a bunch of hands and tools, and then the bottom one has rain gear and a coat and some stands and some other things. But we're going to go ahead and pull these out and set them up, and I'll even go get the other Popeye so we can stand this Popeye next to the other one to see if there's been any changes. As you know, they, at very least, he's probably got the same body, just recast, but they'll probably have done differences in his clothing. So let's go ahead and get them out of there and stand them up and start checking these out. Okay guys, here we are back with our Popeye and Bluto Stormy Seas Ahead 2-pack out of the box. Well, almost out of the box because you don't see Bluto yet. I wanted to go downstairs and get the original Popeye so that I could put them side by side to make a quick comparison, and as you can see, they're essentially the exact same action figure. They're even wearing the same outfit, only the new outfit is just recolored. They recolored the new outfit minus the shoes. The shoes are exactly the same, and Popeye is exactly the same. But he's wearing the same clothes in a different color scheme, which is fine. But I wanted to bring the other one up and show, and you see they recolored the stands, also the little platforms that they're standing on. But there are a ton of accessories with this set. There's a lot of pieces to look at, so we're going to be busy for a minute. And we'll get old Popeye out of the way. And you see how he clings to that platform really well. And that's something I pointed out when I did the review of this one. Very often, the pegs on these do not work well, but with these figures more recently, MEZCO's been doing a much better job. And we're going to bring Bluto in here. And this is a very heavy figure. Bluto, I went and I weighed him out of curiosity, and he weighs in at a solid 12 ounces. And his height is about 7.5 inches, whereas the average MEZCO comes in at about between 6 to 6.5 inches tall. And you see this one is actually just a hair shorter than 6 inches. So Bluto was really towering over him. And I didn't try to put him on the peg yet, but he doesn't even really need it because he has such a wide stance at the bottom. His shoes are so big and his feet are so big. We just get a good look at him there. And I like that grimace. I like the look. And I like what they did with the shirt. He's wearing that black shirt, but there's some fading to it. There's a little bit of deliberate fading going across the front of it and on the back as well, and you'll notice that when I turn it around. So the shirt looks kind of weathered, which is a nice look. I like that he's got the undershirt. Really solid looking figure, and he's got the little short legs, which is traditional for these characters anyways. So his legs are not really very proportionate to his torso at all. Turn this around a little bit here. He is a big, imposing figure. And I'm liking the look of all of this so far already. Of course, we'll be testing the articulation and working on some posing in a little bit. Really noticeable joint separation at the wrist, though. We'll see how that looks when we test his articulation. But you see the weathering again on the back of the shirt, where there's some deliberate fading that's been put into the figure, and I think that's a nice touch. I want to see if those pockets are functional as well. Be curious to see if you can actually put something in the pockets. You probably noticed in the background there also I've got some of the disc sets, 41 to 43, 38 to 40, 33 to 38 over there. My son and I used to watch those all the time. The original Popeye. Popeye didn't originally use spinach either. Good detail on the boots. He was tough without the spinach, and then at one point they just started incorporating spinach. Let's take a look at the back of Popeye here, since we're already there. So he never needed it, but then suddenly he needed spinach, and Bluto would beat the living crap out of Popeye every time, and then Popeye would take his spinach, and then suddenly he was able to defend himself. So it's kind of like he took some kind of drug and he was super strong. It's almost like cheating if it wasn't for the fact that Bluto was so awful. That stand is getting hung up there. Let me move that. Really good sculpt on the Popeye. Really good skin texturing and mixture of the plastic and paint application as well. And the shoes, his boots. Again, you see that big separation at the wrist joint, kind of unavoidable. We just turn him, because you won't be able to see him through Bluto. Get a look at the other side of his face there, and you see that little hole at his lip, and that's for the pipe to go in, for if you want to put a pipe in his mouth. This Popeye did smoke a lot. Really liking the look of these so far. Is Bluto's boots again. You didn't get a good look at him before. And there are so many accessories with this. I was really kind of surprised. And we're going to take a look at the accessories, and then we're going to pull these off and test articulation. where do you start? I mean, this is incredible. All right, well, first you have the tray of pipes, which a lot of the Popeye accessories I've already seen because they came with this Popeye. But row of pipes, you had 3 basic pipes and then 3 smoking pipes, and they gave you 3 of each because they're stupid fragile and they could break off in his mouth. He's got that little hole in his mouth again, I had just pointed out, right between his teeth there, where you can stick the pipe. But I'll tell you right now, if that broke off in there, you'd have a time getting it out. That's probably why I never put the pipe in his mouth in the first place. A couple of huge gripping hands for Bluto, and notice the nails. Notice the detail they put into the fingernails on these hands, and just the overall grittiness of them and the veins. That's really good paint application for these figures. And you know, you look at when MEZCO does something like this, because I'm really liking these so far. They do stuff like this, and then you see other figures that they do, and you're like, why couldn't you have done that kind of work with this? Again, the nails, a couple of grasping hands, and of course, fists are on the figure itself. But yeah, look at that. And that looks about big enough that he could hold Popeye. And I think that's what they were going for with that. And I'm going to try that too. And here is a beat up head sculpt. You see he's got a nice big egg on his eyebrow there. And Bluto's not looking too good. Actually, he's kind of looking like Popeye. One eye open, one eye closed. And that's a good feature too, to have a beat up face so that it can look like they've been fighting. And then a cap for Bluto. And just like with the original Popeye, see, it's a magnet. And I like that feature, that there's a magnet inside the head so that you can kind of position the hat however you want on the figure, any old way. See, look at that. That gives you some great posing options. Get a closer look at the cap. The inside, the magnet's pretty obvious, but on the outside, obviously, you wouldn't see it. And they give you two gripping stands, and I'm going to complain about them. And the reason I'm going to complain about them is this is fine for Popeye, but it's not going to work on Bluto. He is too thick in the middle, and I'm going to show you real quick here. By the time you get this open, oh, that one's really tight. I don't want to break it. Let me try this one. That's better. You get that open, you got to open it all the way just to get it on him. It's not going to hold him. It's not going to pick him up. You're not going to have Bluto jumping in this stand. And they always give you a stand like this no matter how big the figure is. They have a generic stand that they use, but you need much larger grips for a bigger figure, like with their Hulk and their Dark Side came with a little stand like this, and you can't even put it on them. So this is kind of useless for the Bluto, and I wish that's something that they would consider. I'm sure someone must have complained about it at some point, and they said, hey, yeah, you know what? The stand is kind of too small for these deluxe size figures. Nope, never occurred to them. Now here is a leather jacket, and this is obviously for Bluto. It's got some tape on it. I'm going to watch out for that because this material flakes. It dries and it flakes. It's got a Velcro strap. That is a thick Velcro strap in there. Pleather, basically. But yeah, you can put a leather jacket on Bluto. The pockets are fake. It's got the buttons. That's nice. 2 112 collective bags. I know a lot of people swear by them. I never use these though. A raincoat for Popeye. Also Velcro. This, I don't know about this one. 2 fake pockets. This looks kind of cheap to me. The way that they did this one, like this was an afterthought. And there's a cap that goes with it. I know I'm taking a long time here, but you know, I want you to be able to see everything. And there's the cap, and this is like, you know, Barbie doll's little sister's cap. It's all warped and sewn badly. I don't know how, maybe see how it looks on him real quick. It won't really stay on, and it looks gigantic. I don't know. What do you think? It doesn't look right to me. I probably wouldn't use it anyways, but I just wanted you to be able to see it. Because usually MEZCO's accessories are pretty good, but sometimes with things like that, they don't do that great of a job. And what looks like another pea coat. And I got one of these with the other figure. All these bags, and this is a mess. This is not stitched very well either. Is it Velcro? Yeah, this is Velcro. No interior Velcro tab. The Velcro strip attaches directly to the fabric of the pea coat itself, and that leaves the potential for this to shred. That's not very well thought out either. And that's a shame, because they did a good job with the leather coat for Bluto. I think it looks pretty decent. And then the two accessories for Popeye, you can see the sleeves aren't even the same length. They're just badly thrown together. Alright, let's get around here. A duffel bag. And this would be cool for storing accessories in. For if you don't want to use the 112 bag or whatever, you want to put all the Popeye's little gimmicks and stuff and tie the bag off. The bag's actually pretty well done. I like the bag. And then we come to these pieces, and you've seen these before also. It's his little compass. It does open and close. It's got a little anchor imprint on it and everything. There's good detail on this compass. His scope, and it's got a little bit of plastic on both ends to make it look like glass, and it does open and close. You see that? It folds up. That's a cool feature. Full can of spinach. Crushed can of spinach. And again, I'm going to borrow this from the other figure. You can see it's basically the same one. A meat hook, which I imagine this has got to be Bluto's. That's a cool accessory. Bluto's not fooling around. A wrench. And the wrench is metal, guys. The wrench is metal. That's nice. That's a nice touch. I complain about that a lot, especially with like 1/6 scale figures where they have a sword or something and the sword's plastic, or statues, PCS collectibles. I did a review of their He-Man, and I'm like, you did a great job on the sculpt and the He-Man looks great and everything, and then you gave him a plastic sword. Come on. But that's a metal wrench. I like that. And 300-pound kettlebell here. And this is also metal. This is a metal kettlebell. Nice touch. Very nice touch, guys. I like that. 2 Popeye heads. And what's the difference between this head and the other head? Oh, his teeth are gritting. See, that one's just a regular closed mouth, and that's a gritting teeth sort of a face. Other than that, there's literally no difference or variation between the two heads. I remember that with the first Popeye I reviewed too. I think it threw me then also. I was like, what is the difference here? Its teeth are showing on this one. But then you get this head, which is the Bluto kicked my ass head. I like how he's got that big goose egg on top of his head, like he maybe just got hit over the head with that wrench. What do you think of that? Bloody nose. He's got blood coming out of his nose there. Can you see that? I'm trying to make sure this is in focus properly. He's got blood coming out of his nose. He's got that bridge of his nose is red. Black eye. Well, that eye was shut anyway, but you know. That's a nice touch. And 3 different hats, all with magnets. There's the traditional sailor cap, the captain's hat, and then the skull cap, which does not have a magnet, but it's form-fitting. It fits perfectly onto the head. And then a series of hands for Popeye. 2 reaching hands, and again, look at the detail, like even in the fingernails and everything. Really excellent detail here. Two clutching hands. And 1 pointing hand. Just like with the original figure. Alright, so let's go ahead and take them off and test their articulation. I imagine this one, and like I said, he's holding onto that platform very well. I'm going to take him off. It's probably going to be just the same as the other one, you know, double jointed neck, which gives him the option to like kind of cock his head. I like that. Head change. That's a big ball joint on top of there. Let's make Popeye beat up a little bit here. Is it on? I didn't hear it snap, but it looks like it's on. Shoulder articulation. Kind of tight, but fluid. Popeye's abs. Yes, he does work out, folks. And he does have a pretty decent ab crunch, it looks like. Look at that arch. You can't do that with a lot of 112 figures, reaching back that way. Bicep, it only bends to there. Single jointed elbow, probably restricted because of the large forearms. Twist is good. Wrist articulation is pretty decent. Again, the big ball joint is kind of obvious. We'll change a hand out. And a bit larger of a peg on these, so less of a risk of damaging something. And the hands are kind of rubbery. You notice that? See that split right there? It looks like that ball joint's not like all the way in. It's got that little bit of a split. I think I got it. I squeezed it and I heard a little snap. I don't know if you heard that. Maybe that joint was never really clasped in as well as it should have been. Rubbery kind of hands, so it shouldn't be too hard to put something into his hands. Sometimes the fingers are stiff and they don't want to hold things. You know. Splits, stops right there because of the pants. Seated splits are a little better. Going back, not too much. Looks like Popeye's got a pretty small butt. Very skinny quadriceps there, Popeye. You need to do some squats. Double jointed knee though. Twists and turns at the ankle. Forward and backward and pivot are kind of restricted though. So you're not going to get too much of this action or forward and back action out of that. Alright, let's leave Popeye knocked out there and take a look at the Bluto. I didn't try to put him on the stand yet. I can do that. I'm sure it'll work well just because of the sheer size of this figure. Yeah, and it's secure in there, really nice. But as I pointed out, he hardly needs it because he stands so wide, and you see the detail on the bottom of the boots. I'm not expecting too much out of the articulation on this one though. Head-to-head tilt, up and down, head comes right off, head goes right on, not bad at all. Shoulder articulation, pretty fluid, actually moves pretty well. Bicep, really limited on the bicep, can't even bend it, hardly, and I'm willing to bet that between the size of the arm and the shirt, it's a lot of obstruction. Wrist movement and wrist articulation, it's about what you would expect. That's not bad. Hand change. Wow, that doesn't want to come off. Look at the size of that plug. Hand change isn't bad. Ab crunch, I'm surprised there even is one. There's a stitch there exposed, and I bet you that's where they attached the shirt to the pants, and this one came loose. His pants look kind of dirty too. They're kind of worn. Those are not real belt loops. Those loops are attached to the belt, in case you were wondering. And you can see the definition of abs through the shirt. I'm not going to pull the shirt up though. I'm not trying to take his clothes off. Splits. Seated splits. Legs are very stiff, by the way. Goes back, not that much. Yeah, legs are very stiff. Knee, single joint, which I kind of expected that, again, because of the size of the figure. He's not very articulated. His articulation doesn't work very well. Side to side, up and down. Ankle pivot isn't bad. There's some calf definition there. His legs work better than Popeye's. So this one is more for appearance than for posability. And as I suspected, that hand is just big enough to carry Popeye around. I like that. That's pretty neat. Why don't we go ahead and get these guys down into the Open by Chance Museum and get them into a pose with the other figures and see how they look. You know what, before I do that, why don't I try getting Popeye, not Popeye, but Bluto's leather jacket on. I'm not sure if I'm going to pose him in this. You'll notice I took the hands off because that's always a problem with these figures. If you're going to put them into these clothes, it's hard to get them into these outfits anyways. But if you're going to put them into the outfit, it's a lot easier if you take the hands off first. They don't like to put the jackets on. I'll lean the arms back like I just did. Bumping my camera here. And then we'll put the hands back on and see how he looks in the leather jacket. And once again, I probably won't pose him in the jacket, primarily because often I find that there's a lot of problems with the pleather coats. Make sure that's secured properly. The collar on his other shirt doesn't want to stay down. That's how he looks in the leather coat, which doesn't look bad. Like I said, I like this coat. I think they did a good job on this one. I think they missed it on the pea coat and the raincoat and rain hat for Popeye, but this coat they did a good job on. It fits well, it looks alright. I don't know. I mean, I'll probably initially won't pose him in this coat, but it's nice to have the option. It does look pretty decent on him. But let's go ahead and get them down into the museum and pose them and see how they look. And here we are back down in the Open by Chance Museum. Hi LPH, I see you hiding there. How you doing? Good. Looking for the MEZCO 112 collective little section, which is right over here. This is where all the 112s are posed, and now our Popeye and Bluto have a new home, and there they are. And I kind of like what I did with this one here. As I pointed out, Bluto's hands, the gripping hands, are big enough that you could clasp onto Popeye. However, I managed to get him to clasp onto the top of Popeye's head so that he has him literally suspended in air. And the Bluto figure is sturdy enough to actually do it. The shoulder isn't giving out. His legs are nice and sturdy, and the Popeye is light enough that he's staying up there. And I think that really works. I like the way that looks. Now, the wrench. I did have a lot of trouble getting the wrench into the hand. Even though the fingers are rubberized, they did not want to open up enough to get that wrench in. So I had a lot of difficulty with that. But I did manage to get it in there. Overall, I like this set. Again, the only drawbacks for me really was that I think that they did a poor job on the raincoat and cap and pea coat for Popeye. Bluto's coat came out really nice. And I like that there's metal accessories. There is very limited articulation with Bluto. It would be nice if he was a little more posable, but he's such a thick figure, it's kind of hard to get much pose out of him. And we kind of ran into that with the other big ones as well, like the Dark Side here. You can barely pose Dark Side. And the Hulk as well, which I have the Hulk here for size comparison. You can see the Hulk is still bigger than Bluto. But that's the permanent home here for the Popeye and Bluto 2-pack. What do you think of this set? Did you manage to order this set? Did you find it aftermarket? Is this a set that you're interested in? Did this video help you to decide one way or the other whether you wanted to be bothered with the Popeye and Bluto, or Bluto and Popeye rather, Stormy Seas 2-pack? Is this something that you would be interested in obtaining before the price gets too stupid? You never know what direction these are going to go in. Some go up, some don't. Some come down in value. You really can't predict it. But is this a set you'd be interested in? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments section down below. Please do give the video a thumbs up if you got something out of it. I hope that you did. Share it if you can. Subscribe if you're new. Check out some of our other videos. I've got a lot of MEZCO unboxings, a lot of 6th scale unboxings that I've done, vintage toy and action figure showcases, adult toy market discussions, and so on. A lot of different things going on this channel, comic books. Check it out, you may find something you like. So what more can I say? But thanks for watching, and we will see you again soon.